Bone conduction headphones are gaining popularity not only because the technology has matured and now it can provide great sound quality, but also because people started to realize the benefits of such an open-ear design. So today we are having a closer look at 5 of the best bone conduction headphones. My name is Andy, and you are watching Andy's Tech Tone. So what is bone conduction technology and what are those benefits I was talking about? Well, in short, bone conduction creates sound by resonating the bones in front of your ears, which then transmit the sound to your inner ear by passing your eardrums. The speakers leave your ear canals completely free and open, as there is nothing you have to plug into your ears. So if you suffer from any kind of ear infection, or you have some hearing issues, or if you simply feel discomfort when using traditional in-ear designs, bone conduction is the way to go. And by not blocking your ears, your situational awareness remains intact, which is a huge advantage from a safety perspective. Running, cycling, skating, or any outdoor sport for that matter can greatly benefit from the open-ear design this technology has to offer. So that's bone conduction in a nutshell, and now let's see our contenders in alphabetical order. First there is the Haylou PurFree BC01, which you can get for around $100. Then we got the Mojo2 from Mojawa for around $150. Then comes the Naenka Runner Diver for around $160. Next up is the Padmate S30, which is a more affordable option for around $60. And of course, no bone conduction comparison would be complete without the Shokz Openrun Pro, which costs roughly 3 times as much. For actual prices, please have a look at the links in the description. And a quick disclaimer, I got all 5 products as a free sample for testing from their respective manufacturers, but in this comparison I only share my own thoughts and opinion with you guys, all of which is based on my personal experience with the headphones. I'm not getting paid for doing this, and the contents of this video are not influenced by anybody in any way, shape or form. With that out of the way, now we can start testing the headphones themselves. And since they are all meant to be used primarily for sports, let's see their fit and comfort first. As you can see, all 5 headphones speak the same general design language. There is a headband with a head unit behind your ears and a speaker unit which sits in front on each side. There is a slight variance in terms of how each headset looks, the Mojo2 being the most flashy and the Naenka being the most strange looking at first. The Haylou and the Shokz look very much alike, and the S30 has more straight lines and square elements in its design than all the others combined. So you can take your pick, but I would opt for the Mojo2. All 5 headbands are made from some sort of a flexible but sturdy titanium or other metal alloy, which makes the fit snug and secure around the neck. I personally found the Shokz the most comfortable, closely followed by the Mojo2 and the Haylou. The Padmate S30 has these square-shaped speaker units, which can cause the slightest discomfort at times, depending on the size of your head and your ears, but I mostly found them comfortable to use for even the duration of a long-run session. The Naenka Runner Diver can also be a hit and miss due to its oddly shaped speakers, but this special bionic design serves a purpose. These are the only headphones that come with 16 gigs of built-in storage, so you can download your music files onto the headphones and listen to music offline while swimming in the pool or in the sea. And when swimming, those little fins on the speakers can provide you with the extra grip you need to keep the headphones in place with or even without a swim cap. But for those who would rather exercise on land, all 5 headsets are equally suitable for all sorts of sports thanks to their snug around the ears and around the neck design. And I also found all of the headphones to be comfortable when used along with sunglasses or bike helmets. Well, there are probably some special aerodynamic helmets or sunglasses with thick temples that are not compatible with any of these headbands, but all the accessories I have and tried worked just fine with all 5. And one more note here, the Shokz Openrun Pro are the only ones that are available in 2 different sizes, so keep that in mind. The build quality of the headphones is generally good across the board. Maybe you can tell that the S30 costs way less than the others, as they look and feel more plasticky, but in terms of usability and durability, it's hard to tell them apart. The soft, skin-friendly silicone coating on the neckband of all the other 4 headsets might prove to be useful in the long run, but the S30 has some rubber coating of its own, and also their speakers have this nice and soft padding too. But what really sets these headphones apart is their IP rating. The Naenka Runner Diver offers you the highest level of protection against the elements, as thanks to its IP68 rating, it's fully dust and waterproof. Well, it better be, since it was designed to be used for swimming, right? Next are the Haylou and the Mojo2, both of which are IP67 rated. The Shokz Openrun Pro comes with an IP55 certification, which makes them dust, splash and sweat-proof to some degree, so you should be fine across a wide range of scenarios. The Padmate S30 offers an IPX5 rating, which means that there is no protection against dust ingress and only some protection against sweat, rain and splashes. But again, all 5 headphones should be able to withstand the challenges your daily workouts might present to them. And while on the topic of durability, let me mention that the only headset that comes with a hard carry case is the Shokz Openrun Pro, which can make a huge difference in terms of longevity. You also get a nice and soft carry pouch with the Mojawa headphones, and you can buy a hard case separately for the Runner Diver from Naenka, but it will cost you an extra 15 or 20 bucks. And in case you were wondering about the weight of the headphones, here you go. The Naenka is the heaviest with 35 grams, while the Mojo2 comes in at only 26 grams. Both the Haylou and the Shokz weigh in at 28 grams, while the Padmate S30 is around 30 grams. Onto another datasheet, here you can see the battery life of each headset. The Naenka and the Shokz stand out with their 10 hours of single charge playtime, while the other 3 can last up to 8 hours with a fully charged battery. And talking about charging, 4 out of the 5 headsets use their own proprietary magnetic charging cable, which is far from ideal, but it is what it is. The only one with a standard USB Type-C port hidden behind a plastic door is the Padmate S30. Quick charging is available on the Shokz Openrun Pro, the Mojawa Mojo2 and the Haylou PurFree BC01. The Shokz also comes with moisture detection to prevent any damage wet charging pins might cause. Next up are the controls. Most of the headphones offer a similar layout and functionality when it comes to controlling media playback or phone calls. The only one with limited options here are the least expensive Padmate S30, as all we get is a power on-off button on the right-hand side, which can also control play, pause, tracks, phone calls and your voice assistant. But there are no volume controls. On the other 4 headphones, you can find separate volume rockers on the main unit on the right-hand side, along with a multifunctional button on the left speaker unit. So you get to control all functions including volume, media playback and phone calls on all 4. The main button on the Naenka have an extra function, and that's switching between Bluetooth and MP3 modes. Another difference here is that instead of buttons, the Mojo2 have a touch-sensitive interface on the right main unit, so you can adjust volume by sliding your fingers up and down. And this is my least favorite out of all volume controls, as the physical buttons simply work better all the time, while I activate the voice assistant instead of adjusting volume by accident on the Mojo2 sometimes. But the main multifunctional button on the Mojo2 works just as good as on the others, even if it's a bit too stiff and hard to press. But my favorites are the Shokz and the Haylou. One might argue that these two are suspiciously identical in terms of their controls, but what I really care about is that both works really well across all scenarios. For some reason, the volume up and down buttons are switched on the Naenka. Well, they are switched when compared to the other 3 with the same layout at least, and that is a bit frustrating. These buttons on the Naenka act as track controls too, and they are also placed on the top of the main unit, not at the bottom as you can see on the Shokz or the Haylou. But these differences only take a bit of time to get used to when you keep switching between all these headphones as I do. But other than that, the controls on the Naenka work just as well as on the other two, I mean the Shokz and the Haylou. And onto the sound quality, we do not only have to test and compare the general attributes of sound, such as details, resolution or imaging, but we also have to focus on 3 different aspects that are specific to bone conduction technology. First, there is bass impact, second is vibration, which somewhat goes hand in hand with the amount of bass, and third, since these are open-ear headphones, there is also sound leakage to take into consideration. So let's see the bass and vibrations first. The Shokz Openrun Pro is ahead of the bunch with its relatively full and punchy bass. Of course, you cannot expect such deep extension or thunderous impact as with in-ear buds or over-ear headphones, but Shokz have definitely made a leap in the right direction with its latest generation of bone conduction speakers. But it all comes at a price of more vibrations. The Padmate S30 might be a touch worse in terms of those vibrations, and it also has a bit less bass at a lower maximum volume at the same time, so the S30 might be the worst option for those who are bothered by tickling vibrations on their skin, but the Shokz is close second. The Mojo2 strikes a nice balance here with a more controlled but less powerful bass and with significantly less vibrations. Moving down in the rankings of bass impact, the next one is the Naenka Runner Diver, and at the very bottom you can find the Haylou BC01. But the Haylou also offers you the smoothest experience as it barely resonates or vibrates at all, even at full volume. Identifying which headphones sound the loudest is a bit hard, as the perception of volume is kind of similar, let's say, with the Shokz and the Haylou, but while the former has stronger bass, making the sound more powerful at the bottom octaves, the latter shines at the higher frequencies due to its better resolution and extension. With that said, the Padmate and the Mojo2 are definitely sound more quiet than either the Haylou or the Shokz at full volume, with the Naenka being somewhere in the middle. And even though some manufacturers claim that there is no or minimal sound leakage with their bone conduction tech, in real life you can easily hear some of it if you are in a quiet room or, let's say, in an office. And according to my tests at full volume, the Mojo2 is the best by leaking the least amount of sound, followed by the Haylou, then comes Naenka, Shokz and Padmate in that order. But depending on how each speaker unit sits in front of your ears, this can vary from person to person. And now a few words about their overall sound signature. Starting with the Haylou, we get a surprisingly open and detailed sound. The mid-range and the highs have great clarity and energy, the soundstage has great dimensions, and there is good separation between instruments. These headphones deliver the most spacious sound and the most precise image as well. It's only the complete lack of bass frequencies that makes them sound a bit too thin and toy-like. The Mojo2 delivers more energy in the bass, but the mids and especially the highs feel a bit too shy in comparison. It's a nice and warm sound, but vocals could be a tad more forward, and I also miss a little sparkle from the top end. Moving on to the Shokz Openrun Pro, you can get both the extra sparkle and the energy boost in the bass, but the mid-range and vocals still feel a bit neglected. The sound is not quite as open as on the Haylou, but of course it sounds more balanced thanks to the better bass extension. It also sounds more lifelike, as all frequencies are more or less present in the sound. The Padmate can deliver a surprisingly good amount of bass, which is comparable to that of the Shokz, but it cannot keep up with the performance of the more expensive headphones in the mids and the highs. Some spaciousness and air is also missing from the sound, and the imaging is not quite as precise either. Volume is the lowest here overall, so that's something to keep in mind if you want to use your headphones in noisy places. The Naenka can easily keep up with the Shokz in terms of clarity in the mid-range or extension in the highs, and I would say it sounds even a bit more forward and open across these frequencies, but their bass performance is definitely lacking when compared to either the Shokz or even the Mojo2. I like the Shokz, the Mojo2 and the Haylou for different reasons, but I also found that when running outside, for example with ambient noise and even some wind in the mix, you will barely hear or feel much of a difference between the sound of these headphones. They all sound relatively bad from an audiophile standpoint, but they can all serve the purpose of providing us with sound during exercise while keeping us safe, and that's what matters the most. And before moving on, let me make two more comments here regarding sound quality. First, the bass performance can drastically improve across the board if you plug in your ears, and thankfully all headphones come with a pair of either silicone or foam earplugs in the box, except for the Shokz. The earplugs come in handy especially when swimming, as it stops the sound from fluctuating annoyingly with your head moving in and out of the water. So I highly suggest you use the special silicone earplugs with the Naenka Runner Diver in the swimming pool. And second, the Shokz is the only one with any kind of app support, and there is a so-called EQ feature with a standard mode for music and a vocal mode for podcasts, where you get a little boost in the mids, making human voices easier to understand. With that said, all headphones here are very good when it comes to listening to podcasts, as lower frequencies are rather lacking, so there is not that much of auditory masking going on. In other words, if you want to listen to podcasts during your long runs, bone conduction technology is a great option for you. Next, let's talk about some of the other features of the headphones. So again, Shokz is the only one with a smartphone app, but other than the two EQ modes, firmware upgrades and the multi-point pairing menu, there is not much else on offer here. But that's still better than what any of the other four brings to the table. And the Openrun Pro is not the only one that comes with support for multi-point use, because both the Haylou BC01 and the Naenka Runner Diver can connect to two devices at the same time. The Haylou also comes with support for the aptX audio codec, which makes them kind of unique in this group, as neither of the other four headphones support anything else but AAC and SBC. The Naenka Runner Diver is another one with multi-point support, and it also comes with 16 gigs of onboard storage for offline use in the water. The only file formats that are supported are MP3 and FLAC, and copying the files from a computer to the headphones takes ages through the old-fashioned USB connection, but at least swimmers and multisport athletes get the option to use their headphones both on land and in the water. And for some, that can be a key selling point. And while I'm not sure how big of a selling point phone call quality is, here are a few audio samples for you from the built-in microphones on each headset. Starting with the Haylou, this is the microphone quality you can expect from the BC01 headphones when it comes to making a phone call in a quiet environment. Next up, here is an audio sample from the microphones on the Mojawa Mojo2 headphones in a quiet environment. And this is the sound quality you get from the microphones on the Naenka Runner Diver in a quiet environment. Onto the Padmate S30, this is the microphone quality you can expect from these headphones when you happen to make a phone call in a quiet environment. And last, this is an audio sample from the onboard microphones of the Shokz Openrun Pro. Conditions are the same. I'm still sitting in a quiet room. And now we step outside for a minute just to test the microphones of the headphones in even more challenging conditions. So this is the Haylou PurFree BC01 with some traffic noise and the slight breeze thrown into the mix. And this is the phone call quality you can expect from the microphones on the Mojawa Mojo2 when you are making a phone call in windy and noisy conditions. Next up is an audio sample from the microphones on board of the Naenka Runner Diver. The conditions are the same. There is some traffic and there is a slight wind. Moving on to the Padmate S30, this is the sound quality you can expect from the microphones when making a phone call with these headphones outside in noisy conditions.
And for our last test of the day, this is an audio sample from the microphones on the Shokz Openrun Pro. The conditions are pretty much the same. There is some wind and also some traffic noise.
And now it's time to wrap up this comparison. And I'll be quick, I promise. If you want something affordable, get the Padmate S30. It can do all the basics just as well as any of the others. If you have deeper pockets and if you want something more fancy looking and better sounding, then get the Mojawa Mojo2. If you want to use your headphones for swimming, well, that leaves you the Naenka Runner Diver and its onboard storage as the only option. When it comes to deciding between the Haylou and the Shokz, well, that's not too complicated either. If you don't mind the heavier price tag and the tickling vibrations, but you need that extra bass, the app support and the hard carry case, then the Openrun Pro should be your choice. But if you prefer the more open-sounding nature of the PurFree BC01 and you don't mind the lack of bass, then you can save some money and go for the Haylou and enjoy its vibration-free sound. Which one would I pick? Well, given the fact that I would like to have the option to use headphones when swimming sometimes, the Naenka seems to be an obvious choice for me, but for general use or for running, I would probably get the Haylou. But these are my preferences only and I'm really interested in your opinion too, so share your thoughts regarding these bone conduction headphones in the comments down below. And this is it for today. If you were kind enough to give this video a thumbs up, that would be greatly appreciated, and if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please do it now so you won't miss any of my content in the future. Thank you for watching. See you next time.